I'm Craig McLean and welcome to episode 6 of the Mark 1 Escort RS 2000 reassembly. In this episode we'll be doing a little bit more engine building and then we'll move on to some other stuff to keep the content a bit mixed. So let's crack on with a bit more engine work and we'll take it from there.
Well, it's a new day in the workshop, so I thought I'd start off by doing something really easy. So first job of the day is fit the water pump. That's very simple. No point in videoing it. It basically slides into the enclosure, put 4 bolts in, tighten them up. Really as simple as that. And there it is with its pulley fitted. Pulley's the original. During lockdown it was one of the many jobs I did. Cleaned the pulley up, back to bare metal, etch primed it, a couple of coats of satin black, and it looks absolutely brand new. So yeah, again, that's just a simple case of sitting it on, put 3 bolts in, tighten them up. And that's the water pump complete. So this is the second job of the day. So as you can see, we've got 2 very different pulleys. The one on the right is the exhaust pulley and the one on the left is the inlet pulley. This is what controls the variable valve timing, so that's staying in situ. But this cam pulley here is getting replaced for this one. As you can see, looks a lot nicer than the original, but that's not the reason I'm fitting it. As I've mentioned, you can retard the exhaust timing. I'm told that 6 degrees is optimum, so that's exactly what I'm going to go for. I'm going to retard it by 6 degrees. And on this pulley, there's some little markings you can just see there. Advanced and retard, A and R. And each one of them lines is a degree increment. So I can basically fit this cam pulley, and then when we get all the cam belt fitted, I can retard the cam by 6 degrees to hopefully give it an extra 8 to 10 brake horsepower. While it's off, there's 2 seals in behind here for your cams, your inlet and your exhaust. I'm going to replace them with new genuine Ford items. It's in bits, I may as well do it. I've replaced every other seal, so you know, why wouldn't you? Now on the cams, there's these little flat sections here that a spanner fits onto perfectly. So I can only imagine that's what they're for, to hold the cams while you're loosening off the centre bolts on the cam pulleys. I did watch one guy on YouTube, and he actually put the locking pin through the centre of the 2 cams, and he used that to loosen the bolts off. And as a result, he ended up snapping one of these lobes clean off the end of the of one of the cams. I can't remember which one. So something to bear in mind. You don't want to be obviously destroying your cams. So I think this is definitely the better option, time will tell. So I've gone ahead and I've removed the inlet and the exhaust cam pulleys and the oil seals. Now I've got to be honest, I got a bit of a shock when I took the exhaust one off. I took the exhaust one off first, and I've never known an engine, and any engine I've ever worked on in the past, the cams have always had keyways, so that, you know, they can only go on the cam in one place. And I loosened the bolt off and took it off and realised there was no location pin, which I don't suppose it matters because we're going to time it up from scratch anyways. But I just got a bit of a shock because to me that's not a great idea. If that cam pulley was to move on that cam and your timing was to go out by a couple of degrees, that could be the difference between piston contact or no piston contact. So I don't like that. I don't think that's a very good idea. Secondly, I removed the variable valve timing pulley, and I actually made a mark on that one so I can make sure it goes back in exactly the same place. Don't know exactly how vital that is, but I'm pretty certain it's fairly vital. So that one's marked up. They're sitting on the floor. Now I'm just going to be very methodical in the way I put it back together. I'm going to make sure it's all lovely and clean, new seals fitted, put the cams back on, and then when we come to time it up, we'll have to make sure that it's all absolutely bang on. As I say, the VVT cam on the left, cam pulley on the left, I've got a mark for that one, so I know exactly how that one's going back. The one on the right, it wouldn't have mattered anyways because it's not going back on, so even if I'd put a pen mark on it, it would have made no odds because I'm putting the Vernier cam pulley on. So that's where we're up to. I'll get these new seals fitted in onto the head, and let's get these cam pulleys back on. So that's the inlet cam pulley, the variable valve timing pulley, refitted to the inlet camshaft. There's the pen marks I was talking about. So you've got the one on the cam and the one on the gear. Now, because these are designed to slip, it's now in its resting position as it is now, but if I turn the cam pulley anti-clockwise, you'll see that it's designed to slip on the cam, but the lines are perfectly in line in its resting position, so I know that one is definitely going back on in the right place. Talking to my mate, it turns out that because he's worked on a lot more modern stuff than I have, that most cams now don't have keyways. I wasn't aware of that. I've worked on a lot of old stuff, to be fair. Most of the engines I've worked on are, you know, probably pre-1980, so, you know, a bit different design. But yeah, apparently this is the modern way. I'm not a lover of it, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, I can now get this cam pulley torqued up. According to the data, I've got 68 Newton meters, but that isn't for a VVT cam pulley. It's quite difficult to get some of the data for the ST170, so I'll go for 68. That one's definitely 68. I'll go for 68 on this one and see how we come on. So I'll get that one torqued up. The other one I'm not going to torque up yet because it might need a final adjustment when we come to time it up. So I was almost jumping ahead. I was almost ignoring my own take your time advice there. A long time ago, this head was put on the block, just sat on, and we put the bolts in finger tight, and I was just about to start timing everything up to put the belt on, and I thought to myself, you haven't torqued the head up. You haven't torqued the cylinder head down. So I've had to take the cams out because the bolts, you can't get them properly with the cams in. So yeah, a bit of a setback, but it's my own fault. So I'll show you now a picture of the sequence of torquing the head down, because you've got to do them in a set sequence, working from the centre outwards. And I'll also show you a little picture of the step-by-step torque sequence. So you start off, I think there's 3 stages. I think you go to something like 20 Newton meters, and then something like 60, I can't remember off the top of my head, and then it's 90 degrees, I think, finally. But I'll show you a picture of that now. So basically, I'm going to get the head torqued down, cams back in, and then I'll show you a little bit of footage when I'm looking to time up the cams to put the belt on. Correction, as you can see by the photo I've just shown you, it's stage 1 20 Newton meters, stage 2 40 Newton meters, and stage 3 90 degrees. I've done it in 20 Newton meters and 40 Newton meters, so now I'm up to stage 3. I'm going to do the 90 degrees, and then we can get the cams put back in. Right, that's the head fully torqued up. Obviously the right tool to do the 90 degrees is, you know, the special torque wrenches that can do degrees. I don't have one of them, so I've basically done it. 90 degrees is a nice easy one. You're basically going from perfectly in that direction to perfectly in that direction. That's obviously 90 degrees. So I've done it by eye. So yeah, just as I mentioned when I showed you building up the bottom end, it's just as vital that you get all these surfaces clinically clean, you know, absolutely perfect, not a bit of dust, not a bit of grit anywhere, because obviously if you put the cam caps on, or if you bolt any face up tight together and there's any grit or any shit in between, they're not going to seat properly. So it's vital you get all these surfaces on both the head face and the cams and the cam caps perfectly clinically clean. I think most engine builders do as well, run a bit of engine oil into all the journals, onto the tops of all the cam followers before you drop the cams in and torque them up. Just obviously provides a little bit of lubrication for first startup. Right, that's the cams back in finally for the last time. Torqued down to 15 Newton meters as per technical data. So we're now back to where we were. Now this is part of the locking kit. A lot of people say these can be a bit of a loose fit, but this one I had to very gently tap it in with a hammer, so it's a lovely snug fit into the grooves. Now that can only be fitted one way. The groove in the cams is offset, so I was thinking to myself, well, how do I know, you know, which way around to run the cams? Well, it turns out the grooves are offset, so you can't get it in the wrong spot. So that is now inserted into the cams. As you can see, it sits flat against the top surface of the head. Now what we have around here, you'll notice down here there's a hole here, normally a little bolt in it which is removable, and you basically, in your kit, you get a little pin like this. There's various different lengths, you just got to find the right one for yours. That goes through that hole, screws right in until it butts up. Now I've already prepared this for the video. I've went ahead and found out, you know, made sure everything is working as it should, so I'll just show you now. If you go around to your crank pulley, rotate the engine, that's it, it's stopped. If I take that pin out, I can guarantee you can carry on turning that crank. So now that crank, there's basically a little flat face on the crank, which is now sitting flat against the top of the pin that I've just screwed in. I now can't screw that out because the crank is sitting to come loose, but the crank is sitting on the top of it. So that is now in a place where you can put the belt on and start timing up. Right, I'm hoping you can see that. Looking down, that's the plug hole we're looking at there. That's the hole for the number 4 spark plug. And what you can see there is the top of piston number 4. I've already checked that we are at top dead. And number 1 and 4 are at top dead with that pin that I've just shown you screwed in place. Well, that's us all timed up. It's not done for the final time, I'll add, because I've had an absolute nightmare getting a cam belt kit for this engine. Our local motor factors don't do an ST170 kit, so I got one offline. And the picture, I gave them the registration number of the car that this engine came from, and they told me I needed this certain kit. And right away I looked at the kit and I went, no, that's not right, because it's got 2 idler pulleys. The STs will only have one at the top and a tensioner pulley. This showed another one down the bottom down here. STs don't have that. So I said, no, I don't think that's right. They assured me it was. I thought, well, worst case scenario, all I need to do is not fit one of the idlers and fit one of the, you know, the main idler. Kit came. This is a 60mm diameter idler pulley, and they sent me a 70mm idler pulley. And the bottom idler pulley is 40 odd mil, so I can't even use that one. I think it's 46, 47. So I've sent, I don't know how many messages saying, all I need is a 60mm idler pulley to replace the 70 and the 40 odd mil one. And I've had, I don't know how many messages backwards and forwards, and I've had to send them a diagram, send them a picture of what I received with little bits of paper sitting next to them saying, this one's correct, this one's not correct, this is 70mm, it should be 60, and this one here isn't required, this one down here isn't required. And then I sent a picture saying, right, this is what I need. One of these, as you've already sent me, this is my original 60mm one, and that's it. Oh, so it's just a 60mm idler pulley you need. It was like banging my head against a brick wall. I thought, yes, I've been telling you that for the last 5 or 6 messages. So yeah, my head's in the shed with that. So as a result, I've had to fit, for now, the old tensioner and idler pulley just to make sure it would time up properly. I've done a full rotation. There's no, there's no issues with anything clashing or anything like that. It turns over freely. So now I'm going to have to wait until I get the new idler and tensioner, and I can guarantee you I'll be replacing these with the new ones. I will not be fitting the old ones. So that's where we're up to. It's all timed up until I get that new idler pulley. I can't really go much further with the timing. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're up to. So it's starting to look the part, but I can't really go much further now until I get the idler pulley back from the online supplier. So I've gone pretty much as far as I think I can go with it for now. I've just set the cam cover on loosely just to keep dust out. I've still got the lock peg in for the cams because I want to take the belt back off again when I come to put the new tensioner and pulley on, etc. So that's as far as I can go with that. It's starting to look the part, but it'll look even better when I get the Omex throttle bodies on it, a decent exhaust on it, and all the covers etc back on, and obviously the cam cover recoated, which I'm going to take that tomorrow to get repainted. So I had a little trip back to GS Escort yesterday. I had another fantastic day, good crack with the lads. Every time you're there, there's, you know, the ex-customers and current customers come in and you have a good crack with them. You get to see their cars and it's a great experience. But I basically went there yesterday to drop my gearbox off. So my gearbox is now with them. They're going to use one of their approved repairers to basically put a taller first gear in it and basically replace anything it needs, whether it needs bearings, balk rings, whatever, you know, anything that it needs will be replaced. When I get it back, it should just be ready to bolt to the motor and get this engine in. So that's probably as far as I can go with the engine for this particular time. Now this is a prime example of why car restorations take so long to do. Here we have the heater unit out of the car. This is the original that came with the car. I'll try and insert a photo. I think I've got a photo of it before, and it was horrendous. It looked awful. It was very rusty. You wouldn't have put it in. You certainly wouldn't have put it in a restored car. It was awful. And there's got to be about, and I've totted it up, there's about 7.5 hours just in this one, you know, this one component. You've nearly got a day in one component. By the time you include stripping it down, I mean, my 7.5 hours isn't including the powder coater's time either, but you know, you've got stripping it down, cleaning the motor up, repainting the motor, pressure testing the heater matrix, which I'll put some photos and a bit of commentary at the end of this video just to show you how we did that, and then putting it all back together correctly and setting all the controls up, you know, looming everything back in again. Like I say, nearly a full day on restoring a heater, but I'm sure you'll agree, you know, it looks, I don't think it would have looked that good new. I don't think they'll have spent that much time on something that's not seen. I'm really pleased with that. The heat element, not the heat element, sorry, the heater matrix, I'll tell you all about that just in a few seconds, but that's now ready to go in the car. This is how we pressure tested the heater matrix. We basically attached a pipe to the inlet and the outlet, and then at the other end of the pipe we attached 2 tyre valves, so we could basically pressurise the heater matrix with compressed air. Now we basically dipped it into a bucket of water to test for leaks in the same way you would if you're doing a puncture repair on your bike. So I did a bit of research and I found that coolant systems on cars can run anywhere between 5 and 30 psi, but we decided to go for 20 psi. So we pumped it up to 20 psi, left it for 5 minutes, and there was absolutely no leaks, no bubbles at all. I think that's remarkable considering the heater matrix is 40-odd-year-old. So thanks very much to my best mate Anthony Buchanan for his help with this. It's a procedure that he used to do at work quite often with different parts on different cars. Well, that's the heater fitted into the car. It's so nice to fit nice clean parts onto a freshly painted body shell. I really couldn't be fitting dirty parts onto this shell. It wouldn't do it justice. So that's another little job out the way. So slight change from engine work. I picked this up from GS Escort yesterday. I bought it, you know, when I went to GS Escort a couple of months back when I showed you bits and bobs that I'd bought, and this was one of the things that was on back order. So I finally got this now. It's bolted in fairly well. So yeah, that's another little job out the way on the interior. It makes the interior of the car just look a little bit more complete. So I've had a bit of a setback this morning. I got up this morning and decided to take the fuel tank and the crossmember to get powder coated, and it turns out that the crossmember, I'd never really looked at it closely, and as you can see in the middle, has been bodged. It doesn't look too horrendous from the top, but if you look underneath, if you look in there, see if we can get the camera angle, it's just all been bent in, pigeon crab welding. It's just, there you go, all them welding rods. It's just not good enough, and it won't be going anywhere near this car. So I'm now going to need another crossmember, unfortunately, before I can get the engine in. But this is what it's all about. You've got to be thorough with what you're fitting. You've got to check everything. and as a result of that, this part just isn't good enough. So I'll have to get on to GS Escorts and see if I can get another one.
Well, that's it for this video, guys. I'm still hoping that in the next 1 to 2 episodes you'll see the engine go into the car. That all depends on just how quickly I get the gearbox back from the specialists through GS Escorts and how quickly I can get a Crossmember here. I think I've now sorted a Crossmember out with GS Escorts, but when it arrives I need to weld in the strengthener plates to make it an RS Crossmember, and I also need to get it powder coated as well. So as long as all that goes to plan, hopefully, as I say, in the next 2 episodes you'll see the engine go into the car, and then it really will start to get interesting. So thanks very much for watching. As always, please remember to like and subscribe. If you like the content, if you like what you see, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you hopefully very shortly on the next one.